We're here today to talk about real estate.
Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Unlimited podcast. My name's Sierra Steinmetz.
Brian Schuby.
I'm Carrie Steele.
I'm Bill Jones.
And we're the Jones Home Team.
And this is episode 27, believe it or not. And we're here today. We're talking about Schuby's got exterior, getting your home ready to sell for spring because it's that time of year. Sierra's diving into what you should not do when buying a home. Carrie, what are we going into? We got a PowerPoint for you. Call your real estate agent before you go delinquent, which is very good advice. I'm looking at some home price versus income in Ohio versus everything else. So we'll get right into it. What do we got, Shub?
Yeah, just wanted to, obviously we're getting into that time of year. Spring's, we're kind of right around the corner. Things are starting to warm up. So I just wanted to talk about, getting your home's exterior ready to sell. So the first thing is, freshen up that landscaping, clean up any winter debris, leftover front sticks, leaves, those sorts of things. Look at putting down new mulch, trim bushes and trees to get them, pull those back away from the house. So that way, they're not rubbing, those sorts of things.
Have you been talking to Kelly? Because she's already been beating that drum, getting the landscaping done. And
Well, that's true too, because like you said, getting away from the house, because my husband and son do pest inspections, and that's one thing that can enhance the pest activity around your house is having the shrubs and stuff up against actually touching the house. Yeah.
Not at my house. The dogs have killed everything. There's nothing close to the house.
Nothing left.
Yes.
And then, Bill, if your dogs are killing everything, the other thing would be plant some seasonal flowers. So you may want to stay away from that.
Perfect. Yes.
Another good one on there might too, if you are going to be selling, one thing we see a lot on home inspections is if the landscaping's not on a gradient.
Graded.
Downward gradient toward
Right.
away from the house to keep some of that rainfall and whatnot away from the foundation then too. That usually comes up. And again, that's not something that's usually going to be a deal breaker on an inspection, but it is one less thing that they might know.
You don't want that water going towards the house. So, yep.
And then as far as other additional things, as far as the cleanliness of the house, power wash if you got mold or mildew on the siding or on the roof or something like that. You can power wash or soft wash those areas to get that dirt off of there so it looks nice and clean.
Which soft wash? I didn't even know that even existed.
I know. I was like,
until
what's that?
just semi-recently.
Garden hose and a.
I'll have to pull.
I think it's more of it uses like a chemical to or
yeah. Like those wash. You like hook it onto your garden hose or your pressure wash or something. It's got like.
Because they have those, and then I think they have like another that hooks onto your hose, but it like just kind of you spray it on and it just kind of washes the dirt off. You don't actually have to use
like a scrubbing
high
bubbles commercial.
pressure. Yeah, because I know they say you're not supposed to power wash your roof because it knocks a lot of those granules and stuff off there. So a lot of them recommend the soft wash where they put the spray on there and then it just kind of washes itself.
I need to do that on my porch because it's got like the ugly green stuff, like moss, moss or something, just over the porch. So I need to do that. Yeah.
Well, I was trying to pull
we need
it
a
up
new
here,
roof, but maybe we don't. Maybe we just need to wash
there's
it.
a new company in town here that
soft
does
wash.
that, and I didn't know that was even a thing.
Really?
But, instead of getting the high pressure, spraying on your siding and everything else, your windows, they just spray a chemical almost on. It's something, I don't know, innocuous. It's nothing real harsh and
safe for the environment.
Looks great then.
So that would be one. Power wash sidewalks and driveways. Obviously, those get dirty and mossy, and sometimes they make, it can make them slippery if it's got too much grime buildup on it. So,
it's entertaining to watch too.
It's really satisfying.
It's satisfying.
I was gonna say, watching the videos on TikTok and stuff.
Right? Yeah.
Cleaning your gutters, making sure those are cleaned out, and then also, you can power wash those as well to get those nice and clean. Scrape and repaint any chipping or peeling paint. I know a lot of. When I was looking, they said, front door obviously is a big one. Make sure that's clean and freshened up. In the entryway where, people first walk in, that first impression makes a huge difference.
Well, Carrie, you're just talking about that new listing you have coming up. Just the front entryway.
Yeah.
Cleaning that stuff up, get it out of the way. Yeah, it makes a big difference at first impression.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we had one that the door looked like crap, and I was like, if you don't do anything from the list I gave you, paint your front door.
Right.
And I came back later that day with the lockbox, and they were physically painting the front door, and I was like, oh my gosh.
They listen.
See, like not only did I think that needed to be done, but now that I see it, it really needed to be done. So that,
And then another big one is clean your window. Get the windows clean. Get those nice and clean and get the light in there. And then kind of what we were just talking about, front door and entryway. Ensure the outdoor lighting is functional and aesthetically pleasing. It highlights the entryway and the sidewalks so that when people are walking up, again, it goes to that oh my gosh, when they first walk in type of feel.
And there's nothing worse than that. We're finally getting out of that time of year where it's dark when you're showing a house, but like you go in, flip the lights on, and half the lights don't work, or the exterior lights where half of them are they're different colors. That drives me crazy too. So.
Update your mailbox with a fresh coat of paint or a new design, and then kind of with that, then if your house has got house numbers, make sure those are in good condition and they're visible. You can actually see them, so that way people don't have any issues while they're pulling up. They know exactly where they're going. Last one, or like a couple last two, update any door hardware. That kind of goes, I guess, with kind of painting the door, making sure the hardware is up to date and looks nice. And then place, kind of welcome people, places a nice stylish welcome mat in the front door to kind of, give everybody that homey feel then as well.
I think we might have talked about it in another episode too, but if you're changing the hardware, if you buy a new home, if you're selling, not as important, but if you're buying a new home, change the locks, because you don't know how many friends and neighbors and
have keys and
pet grooming or pet watching services or whatever. Everybody has a copy of your key or your keypad, so get those changed.
Yeah, and you had a bunch of kids and they lost keys, and who knows who's got a
All the
copy
friends,
of the key.
all the
Yeah,
neighbors.
everybody's got it.
Yeah. That's good.
So that's what I got.
And that's like fall in love with your house again. Like if you can't move, make the house, love the house you live in, just improve those things.
Yep.
Yeah.
So good advice. I mean, whether you're staying in a house or selling,
Yeah.
so we get that a lot. Someone's selling a home. The power washing guys is talking to is like, well, you guys, you have to get people to do this stuff and not just power wash, but clean it up, do whatever. I'm like, we can make all the suggestions we want, but whether they do it or not, it's a different story. So,
But curb appeal could change by like 10 grand. You could literally get like 10 or 20 grand more just for curb appeal.
Right.
Yeah, which maybe a couple of years ago it was one of those where people weren't willing to do it as much because you put your house on your market
gone.
and then it was gone. Whereas
Right.
now the market is kind of leveling out a little bit. So I think people are going to have to start saying, hey, maybe we need to put some money into our home to get the best value for it.
One of the listings I have has everything on here. Mailbox is busted. It needs power wash. It needs landscaping. It needs everything. And to your point, Carrie, I really think it would make a huge difference.
Yeah.
We've had showings. People showed up and didn't even go in the house because they're just like, we're good. So you don't get a chance to see the house. So
if this is what the outside is, what's the inside look like?
Right.
Yeah. How well do they maintain the inside of their home and the outside?
And if they're not maintaining the landscape, are they checking the pipes? Are they, changing the furnace filters? All those kinds of things.
all the things.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, Sierra, what should we not do when buying a home?
Things you should not do that will avoid you giving your realtor, loan officer, anyone involved a heart attack.
palpitations.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that every deal? We all
Big one, do not finance any major purchases
man.
aside
So I
from the
can't-
one you're financing for your home.
So I just got a new raise, and I'm now making double what I made before. I can't go get a Jeep Wagoneer right now.
Not if you're trying to buy a house.
talk to your lender first. That's
Yeah.
just talk to the
Yeah.
lender first before you do it.
Yeah, that's a huge one, and that kind of rolls into the second one too. Same with switching jobs. Do not switch employment in the middle of the loan process or a home buying process, unless you talked with your lender first and you've discussed like if you can get a letter that will state your income and whatever your hours or your salary, whatever that's going to be, and that will work for your situation.
Right.
Because it could be a relocation. Like it could
Exactly.
be like you're moving for your job, so you
Right.
switch jobs because of it, and you have to buy a house.
Yes. So if that's a
But the
prior
lender will
discussion,
know
The
that.
lender.
Yeah.
They know that. They know what's happening.
Exactly. If that's a prior discussion and they okay it, great. If you decide I hate where I work and you're just gonna switch it up right in the middle, don't count on getting that house.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to full-time basket weaving. So, yeah, that's
Are you a
Right.
good basket weaver?
no.
Make that switch a little later on. So yeah, always talk with your agent or your lender or whoever before making a big life change like that, because that is going to make a lot of things a lot more difficult for everyone involved. Next one, do not max out your credit. Your
I was going
credit
to
scores.
say, with that, don't open any new credit.
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, don't
Yep.
go to
Don't close any
Lowe's,
credit, don't
Pottery
open
Barn,
credit,
something
don't-
like yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, just leave your credit alone. Just pay your credit card and do what you should, because credit scores are affected by how much credit you owe in comparison to your credit limits. So in turn, that credit score that you have affects what type of loan you can get, and what your financing will look like all in all.
But
So
I really want a new couch for my new living room.
don't care.
Right. After closing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The old man story again here. I've told this story to you guys several times. The one the guy bought is like a Dodge Hellcat or Dodge something, like pulled up to closing in it, couldn't close on the house then. They had to postpone that. And then the other person calling from Lowe's or Home Depot, to open up a credit card and get all new appliances. I'm like, get the hell out of there.
Right.
No.
Yes.
I don't care. Wait 2 days.
Do it
close.
after.
I don't
Literally
care.
wait
You buy
till
all
Do
the
it
appliances.
after.
Just it's got to be after closing.
Yep.
So yeah, don't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a good way to give us a little mini heart attack.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then a few other things. Don't always go with the first lender you talk to without talking to other people. You may come back to that first one and realize that they were going to give you your best option, but we always say shop around no matter what, because you never know what kind of programs or grants or something that other lenders might know about that would work for maybe only you, or that other lenders might not have available for you. So definitely talk to a couple people and see who's going to give you the best for what you can work with in your financial and your personal situation and whatnot, because you don't want to miss out on certain grants or any kind of help towards closing and buying your first home and financing it that might
Everybody's
save
different.
you a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, all four of us sitting at the table might have different options and different interests and different loan types
Absolutely.
for what we're trying to buy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
buyers, no different. So.
And it's like also with if you're a first time home buyer, there's certain grants you can get that will go towards paying your closing costs and stuff like that, or your down payment, whatnot, things like that too. So
Or just
yeah.
like now the welcome home funds and
Welcome
things like that.
home.
Yeah,
Yep,
that could
that's
be
a huge one.
a big difference.
So yeah, and then along with the loan, don't assume that you need to put down 20%. Obviously, if you can, great, that's awesome. But you don't have to have 20% to put down on your house. There's as low as 0% down. FHA, you can do 3%, whatever. So just know your options. Find someone that can help you see all of your options and whatnot, and don't assume that the only way to do it is to bring however much, $25,000 or whatever it is,
$100,000.
yeah, like you don't necessarily have to do that. And then last one, don't start looking at homes without a pre-approval.
huge.
Right.
Huge.
Because that is honestly like the easiest way to kind of set yourself up for disappointment. Like if you start looking around and you fall in love with a house before you're pre-approved, and then
Yes.
it comes back and there's an issue with your credit or something like that, and you can't get approved for that price point, and then that house isn't even an option,
Yep.
then it kind of just
Oh,
puts
yeah.
a bad taste in your mouth for the whole experience, you know?
And can cost you a bunch of money. You could get down a line order and appraisal and paying for that, a home
Yep.
inspection paying for that. I mean, you could be on $1,000 quick.
That's
Yeah.
why you need a good agent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get
So,
your
yeah.
pre-approval and get your agent so that you know what you're looking for. And I
Right.
told Bill right before he came on here, I had a couple of phone calls, and that's exactly what they were. Like, if you don't know what, like I've got a listing that I know for a fact won't qualify because the sellers aren't physically able or here to fix things that need to be done for an FHA loan. So it is fact, it will not pass FHA based on what I know about this house. Phone call, ring, ring, ring. I'm not pre-approved. I'm a first-time home buyer. I want to see this house. I'm going to be totally honest with you. These are the steps you need to take to get there if you really are serious about this one. Because I don't want to show it to you. You fall in love, and then it's not going to work out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
are you going to be willing
And
to do
I-
the work or spend the money
And
to get it
yeah,
there?
and it sucks to be that, to be that person. But like when, me and Bobby were shopping for houses, nobody told us that. So we're just going for 10 years looking at all these different houses that did not qualify for the loan type that
Yep.
we had. So anyway.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. If it's no one wants to kind of like
Be
put
the
a
bearer
damper
of
on
bad
anyone's
news.
dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it just makes it a lot easier for everyone involved. If
Yep.
you've already got that pre-approval, you know what you can afford and what that loan type is going to allow.
Yep.
And so if you're approved FHA and it's a total dumpster fire of a house that's going to need a bunch of work
I've never
done,
seen one
like-
of those ever. Never.
So yeah, I mean, just know what you can afford, and don't let yourself fall in love with something that maybe isn't going to work for your situation.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, and you're wasting everybody's time, yourself included. So
Yes,
get your hopes and
yourself
dreams up
included.
for this house you're never going to be able to get. The agent that's shown it,
Absolutely.
the family that had to pack up the dog and kids and get out,
Right.
the other agent, everybody involved.
Yeah.
You go way down the road, the home inspection, the appraisal. I mean, they're getting paid, I guess, but yeah, you just
Yeah.
wasting
It was like
everyone's
I
time.
just was telling Bill I had a lady call on Friday, I think it was Thursday or Friday, and she's like, hey, my husband just filed bankruptcy, last year, and we have a pre-approval, and we want to go look at this house. Well, I'm like, well, could you send me, because I know, there's obviously, before you can get pre-approved after a bankruptcy, it's usually 2 to 7 years, somewhere around there. And I like, could you send me over a copy of your pre-approval letter that she said she had? Well, it was a letter from a bank saying they specialize in people who have gone through bankruptcy.
It was like their guidelines.
Yeah, it was
like
their
what they
guidelines.
do.
It was not an actual pre-approval letter. So I'm like, hey, before we actually go look at this home, like, you need to actually go talk to, like, I don't think she ever had talked to them. It was just one of those, they saw that they had filed bankruptcy or they went through a bankruptcy. So this guy sends them a letter and says, hey, we could maybe get you pre-approved or help you through that process. Well, it wasn't actually a pre-approval. So I'm like, you actually need to call this guy or talk to somebody else as well.
Yeah.
And
It was like
get
literally
there.
going to the
That's too
website,
bad.
like, we do these types of loans for these type of people. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, great, I'm good.
I'm
Yeah.
pre-approved. Yeah.
So it's like, again, not that I don't want to waste
No.
my time as
Yeah.
well, but I also don't want to waste her time or
For
anybody
sure.
else's
Sure.
time.
Yeah, we
So-
definitely want to work with you. It's just we have to make sure it can work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
then-
maybe next year,
And then same thing to your point. She's like, well, my husband wants to use his VA loan, and it was like a $52,000,
Right. Turd.
turd.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay,
Right.
that's great,
Not
but
happening.
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah.
using a VA loan, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's
it's just
another-
people don't understand.
They
or
don't know.
Yeah.
they
And
don't
that's
know.
that's why you need to call your agent. Have a really good agent on your side that can be honest and tell you these truthful facts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Someone
because
that
if
can
I
have the
would have
hard
been like,
discussion.
oh yeah, we'll get you under contract. Well, again, I'm just wasting their time.
Yeah,
as
if
well.
you weren't
So-
educated and didn't ask the right questions, then that could have been a big mess for both of you
Yep.
guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And most lenders can get you pre-approved within a few days. I mean, as long as they're able to take on new clients and whatnot, if you get them what they need, they can get back to you very quickly.
I was
And
gonna say, I think that's
Some
the
of 'em,
biggest
like,
thing is
same day.
you need to be timely in getting them what
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
ask for is how long that process takes.
Yeah.
So,
So if you're serious about a house and something pops up and you're like, oh, this might be perfect. We weren't necessarily looking, but it's going to be perfect. Call your agent. They'll have recommendations for someone that might work for you, a few people. Call around, figure it out. And as long as you can get them the information and the documentation that they need, they can get you some answers. And then you can know if that house is going to be an option. And if so, there you go. Let's schedule a showing.
And there's a big difference between, we've talked this before, a pre-qualification letter and a pre-approval letter
Right.
too. So most of the letters we get they say pre-approval, but most of the time are actually a pre-qualification, which just means
Right.
that someone called the bank and said, I make X amount of dollars, I have this debt, I have this credit score. They're like, oh, that sounds great. But if you look at the details of that, it says that based upon verification of income, verification of funds. So it says pre-approval, but that's a pre-qual letter. So if you want a full pre-approval letter, they've actually looked at that, looked at income, checked credit. So that doesn't, unfortunately, I think happen a whole lot.
But
So-
still, I think if a buyer, ring, I want to go see this house, putting a couple of roadblocks in front of them shows how serious they are about moving forward in the transaction. Because if you put one roadblock, like, oh, it's not available till tomorrow at 9 a.m., oh, okay, never mind. Okay, well, you obviously weren't that serious.
Yeah, you weren't that
Right.
crazy about
Yeah,
it then? Right,
yeah.
for sure.
Just
for
like
sure.
the never minds or the I don't knows.
Okay, we'll move on to Carrie. What do you got, gal, here? So call your realtor before you go delinquent.
Yeah, so with rising taxes, there's going to be a lot of people that are struggling to make ends meet financially because what they were paying monthly before is now different than what they're paying. So they probably have equity in their home, so it's possible they could sell and get out from under that new monthly payment of their taxes, living in a more affordable, tax-friendly place, if there is such a thing.
Yeah, where's that at? I don't know where
I
that's
know,
at.
yeah, but it may be like moving out of whatever the high tax rate is, moving to a different location in your home or in your town, or just trying to find a place that has more affordable taxes in general. But don't wait until the bank is calling you. If you start to fall behind a little or you start to become a little delinquent and you think you might be spiraling in a downward fashion, like you don't think you're going to come out of it,
Right.
get a hold of your agent early, and then that way you can get the house listed on the market and take that equity, get your taxes paid up, and then move, to a more affordable.
It's so much easier to do it then, because if
Yeah.
not, what if the bank starts a foreclosure process? That's a whole animal in and of itself, and all the costs start piling up: attorney's fees, late
Yeah.
fees. It's
or
makes it-
we're in a race to beat the
Oh, yeah.
foreclosure process and all those things as well.
Right. Yeah. So
even if you need to sell, and I'm not trying to get ahead of it, maybe you're going into this, but sell and rent for a while, or
That's
move
right.
in with friends or family, or I've
Or,
had
yeah,
people do that
generational
too.
housing.
Yeah, like you
consolidate your
sometimes
income.
You just need to get out from under that mortgage and reset and come back later.
Yeah. So next, why call sooner? So you have more options, whether it is selling before foreclosure or navigating with your lender. They have probably different loan options. And also you can, if you don't know, if you just set and take no action, you're not doing anything for yourself.
Right.
But
Yeah,
there
the
are
problem's not going to
programs.
go away.
It's not going to go away. You can't sweep it under the rug, and it's just going to keep piling up late fees and penalties and things like that. But if you take action right away, whether there's a job loss or your income changes, we talked about that earlier, like if you're in a position where you think something's coming and you don't see an end in sight to whatever that unforeseeable future looks like, just start putting things into action now. You don't have to do it all right away, but take action. Talk to your lender. The first step is letting your creditors know that there's a problem, because if you let it go, you're going to see a lot more fees and stuff pile on. So whether it's exploring short sale opportunities or talking with your lender about payment plans, definitely get a hold of them. So the other thing is that when you do go into a foreclosure process, that goes pretty quick. Ohio's a judicial foreclosure state, meaning that the process goes through the courts. Once you're behind legally, it's so much harder to dig yourself out of a hole. So if you do have the rights to that house to get it sold before it becomes a problem, then like Brian said, beating the clock, then you're in a lot better position financially, and your credit's not spoiled. So if you don't rent and you do decide to buy something else, by the time that you're in foreclosure status trying to buy another house, they're going to look at you like you're crazy.
Oh, yeah,
There's no way we're going to lend you money when you couldn't pay this other home sale.
Yeah, and some people are scared to move because they don't want to get those dings or whatever. But end up with a foreclosure on your credit, or end up, God forbid, with a bankruptcy after that, or something. Because sometimes it's both. Yeah, you're ruined. So yeah, I guess swallow your pride and just get to it. And a lot of times it's not your fault. It's just people don't want to do it. But if life happens, jobs change, kids change, whatever, you need to figure it out.
And living in your house for 60 years versus it being moving versus it being ripped away from you by the courts. And now you have that foreclosure, you have bankruptcy fees, you have no place to go because you didn't plan. Like, what is the worst case scenario? So if you're elderly, don't be afraid to talk to your kids about this or your grandkids about this. If you are just facing a financial hardship, again, reach out to your lender. They might even have better programs for you. They might be able to somehow configure that consolidation or come down on a rate or something, or adjust the taxes, or give you even maybe call the tax auditor and see if there's something that they can
work
do.
out some kind of program.
And maybe you're paying too much for your taxes. Maybe they need to reappraise it or something. I don't know. Anyway, there's options out there. Protecting your credit and financial future. So like I just said, a foreclosure can stay up on your credit for 7 years, and that makes it harder to buy a home in the future. So if you are taking actions before it hits your credit, and we're not, financial advisors or anything like that, but that's just common sense. You want to keep your credit clean, and it will make it harder to buy a house in the future. Next slide is, you're not alone. It's important to you might feel ashamed or embarrassed that you work so hard to get where you are and for it to be ripped away. But if you are not quiet and you take action, there are programs available. I know for a while there was like Save the Dream Ohio or something like that, where they could help with when you're falling behind. Places like 211 and Ohio United Ways and things like that. A lot of them, if they don't have the answer, they can usually find a program that will help you, at least if you're falling behind on those payments, get caught up. And that might be the time that you need to get with a realtor to get it listed. So you're not alone, and there are programs. But if you don't know that they exist, you could go to the library and start looking around, and you're just going into a room with all this information or misinformation, like you said, of where is this information at and how can I get it? But a lot of times getting a hold of your lender, they'll be able to help as well. Bottom line, you fall behind on payments, call your realtor, call the bank, let them know, like, hey, I'm in a position where I don't think this is going to get any better. What should I do?
Right. Yeah. If you're falling behind, you can only bail water so fast then if you're sinking. So
and 6 months is a short time span when you think about selling, but when you think about how much money is piling up over a 6 month period, that can go really quick.
Yeah. A lot of people, again, not to beat a dead horse, how expensive that gets very fast. So as soon as it goes official foreclosure, that you can add on $3,000 to $5,000 in attorney fees. I think at least $3,000, and then all the late payments and everything else. And they will not accept a partial. Okay, now finally catch up. No, they need to be fully caught up then in order to get you out of the foreclosure process. And then too, if it's that point, you brought it up, Brian, like if now you call an agent, then I'm in foreclosure. Now I need a short sale. Now you're racing a clock, and the bank doesn't care. The left hand's a short sale, the right hand's a foreclosure. It's like whoever gets to the finish line first is who's going to win. I've had them come down to like days, like within a day or two of getting them done, and sometimes successfully, sometimes not, getting that short sale done.
So call your realtor.
Don't
Call your bank.
let it go that far.
Yeah. And your realtor should be able to work with you too. We have our fees, but if we know that there's a situation where there's a financial hardship, maybe
we'll do whatever we can to make it work.
If we can't, we can refer to an agent. They can.
Right.
Absolutely.
Cool. So lesson of the day, I guess, don't fall behind in the first place, and if you do, start early. Start trying to find yourself some options, make a couple phone calls, and make that happen. Well, I had a video I was going to play, but obviously you guys know my computer's being crazy, and I know it's not a MacBook. Thank you. But so I had a video. A guy had a cool video is like Minneapolis or a major metro, and I went to a video he saw from like it wasn't not Who's the Boss. I don't know. One of them old shows, way before you were born, Brian, Sierra. One of them old shows is 1999. A real estate agent talking to these two young couple that wanted to buy a house, and the price was like $80,000. They're like, oh my gosh, $80,000. I can't come up with the money for that.
Wish.
And now that same home is worth like $480,000. So from 99 to 2025 or whenever that was, he looked at the numbers. But the key thing too was the difference in income. So the prices of the home have gone up, but has income kept up with that? And it's pretty stark. So I started doing some homework here. Used my buddy ChatGPT to come up with some graphs. So if the graphs aren't perfect, the math is good. I don't know if the graphs are good or not then too. So I went to Ohio. I couldn't find exactly Tiffin. So 1999 through 2025. Household income versus the prices of homes. So this is all the way back in 99. So again, before your mom and dad even thought of you, Sierra. So... And then home prices today, 2025, how much that's gone up then. So to give you the actual numbers, so the percentage increase in average household income in Ohio in 1999 was $53,500. So that was the income. Price of the house, I lost my numbers here. House, okay, it was $132,657. So you go all the way up through here then. So it was... $53,000. That moved up to $73,000, almost $74,000 in income. But the average price of the house went to $274,000 in Ohio. So the pricing has gone substantially higher than what. So I'll do a little bar graph here too. I'll show you what that looked like here. So this is just 10 years. So if we go back. There's the only chart I had for that. So I went back 10 years. What does that look like now then too? So if we go back 10 years, again, the income 10 years ago through today, kind of a flat line, what it goes up for 10 years. But you see what the home prices have done. They've gone up substantially. They kind of kept in line for about 10 years. And then it just skyrocketed. Come COVID timeframe, everything just went up from there. And it gets worse if you go back. So here's 20 years. This is, again, same thing. Stayed pretty steady for a lot of years. We get in 2015, when the market kind of recovered from the 2008 recovery or, crash. And then in the COVID timeframe, it has just escalated a ton then. So if you go, should you wait? Again, it's one of those, should you wait to see, for rates to come down, for prices to come down? Because no indicator showing us that prices are coming down anytime soon.
5 years, 5 years.
It's a substantial difference. So again, so it's gone up your income's gone up almost 38%. From 99 through today, but home prices have gone up over 107%. So your 40% to 107% is not even close. And that's just Ohio. Going forward, so from this year to next year, they're estimating to go up between 2 to 3%, again, which is down from what they were. But your income, I don't know if it's going up 2 or 3%.
I have to wonder if lenders are going to be lending, because before, wasn't it 36% of your ratio went to housing?
Right.
Are they going to have to adjust that to closer to 50 because nobody's going to be able to buy
But
a
are they
house
gonna
if they
do that?
don't. I don't
Yeah.
know. And then are we in 08 again? I don't
That's
know.
the thing. You end up in exactly that same thing. Then they just start loosening the standards across the board just to make it feasible. Then we end up with 2008 all over again. We're just, hey, you're alive, have a loan. Yeah.
But people are buying it. So like if house prices are going up that much and there's still that many buyers that are in the sidelines waiting to purchase, that's why we keep saying it over and over. I don't think house prices are going to go down that much. I don't think house prices are going to go down that much.
Nope.
Then we have multi-generational, like you said earlier in the other podcast, like people moving in with family, because obviously you need 3 incomes to meet the new guidelines of buying or building a home.
Yeah. It's not everything we're
wild.
seeing. Even that guy made the comment on our last short or whatever, something about, what about all the millions of homes coming up for foreclosure? What's coming up for that? Again, we don't see that here. We only know our local market. Everyone we talk to here, we're not seeing a lot of that nationally. That could compress in Ohio if there is some big boon of foreclosed homes. But episode after episode, we talked about price. There's no inventory. There's still not much on the bank books. There's still a high demand. So, if you wait, interest rates, I don't know. If your income's going to go up by 60%, is that going to make the difference in pricing? Because the pricing's going up quite a bit. I mean, every year. So.
And then it's not like you're going to get a $19,000 foreclosure, because Brian and Sierra, we were talking about that in prior podcasts, that the price of, bank-owned homes, or even if it goes up for auction, are going up for so much more now because there's so many people waiting in the sidelines to pay $50 to $100 for, a house that needs work.
Sure.
So I even showed a property, and again, this is probably I've seen a handful of them where the bank actually, has been investing money back into those foreclosures. They've been painting, they've been putting carpet
Clean
down,
them up
and
a little
cleaning
bit,
them up a little bit to try to get more money back out of them.
Good.
So I mean, it's not just, hey, this house is gonna, I'm sure there'll still be those properties, but banks are actually reinvesting back into those properties to get those values up.
Which is smart for them to do, because it makes it easier for the buyer to be able to finance it. So those FHA, VA, USDA can actually buy the property. So I'm sure they get more money out of it that way.
I mean, the one I showed, it looked like someone was actively, living. It looked like a flip, honestly.
Right.
It was pretty decent. So
nice. All right. Well, so I guess we all need a raise if you're going to buy a house anytime
That's what
soon.
I heard.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've had enough computer problems here for one day. We'll call it quits on that. That's episode 27. Check back episode 28. Do us a favor. Give us some comments. We'll, like I say, if we get comments about housing, things like that, anything you want to talk about, we'd gladly talk about them here. Share, like, do all those fun things, and we'll see you next time.